Hello again and welcome to part 4 in my series on how to design and build a high converting opt-in landing page with Elementor. This is the final video in the series. We're almost there. If you missed the first 3 parts, catch those now at designbuildweb.co/Elementor landing page. In this final step, we need to connect our opt-in form to our email provider, so it sends the subscriber's details to our email marketing service. I'm Dave Foy from Design Build Web. Let's finish this job off and start winning some new leads. How you tackle this depends on if your form has a built-in integration with your email provider. If it does, connecting it is easy. I'll show you that first. If it doesn't have a direct integration built in, don't panic. We'll use a free service called Zapier to do the job instead, and I'll show you how to set that up too. And finally, whichever method you use to connect your form, I'll explain a vitally important thing you need to do once it's all connected. Do not miss that final step. So first, what if your form provider has a direct integration with your particular email service? Now, if yours doesn't, you can skip to the next bit of this video where I'll show you how to use Zapier. That's at 6 minutes, 8 seconds in. Or just grab some popcorn and watch the whole thing. It's up to you. If you're still here, each of the form solutions we mentioned last time has a different method of integration. If you use Elementor Pro's form widget, go to Elementor, Settings, Integrations. If your email provider is on that list, right now that's MailChimp, Drip, ActiveCampaign, GetResponse and ConvertKit, then you're in luck. For example, I use Drip. It's amazing. All I need to do is pop the API key from my Drip account here. It's just one line of random numbers and letters. There's instructions for how to find your own API key next to each provider. Just follow your own provider's instructions to find it in your own account. Then you paste it in the box and hit Validate API Token or Key. And don't forget to save changes at the bottom of this page. But once you've done that, you come over to your form. Now for us, that's in our pop-up content template we made last time, which is in Elementor's template library. So in the form widget settings, it's under Action After Submit, because it's something we want to happen after someone's submitted our form. We've already got the redirect to the thanks page in there. Let's add sending the form data to our email provider. Select your email service. I'll choose Drip here, and then a new panel opens. Just be aware that each email provider's panel has slightly different options in it based on what that provider needs to know. I'll select my particular Drip account here, and we map Drip's email address field to our email address field in our form. Now Drip knows that this field is the same as their own email field. Do I want to send the other form field data to Drip too? Well, that's the name field. Yes to that. We also have the option of sending a tag, or several tags even. Because we're using an integration, Elementor's form, this is the only way Drip will have any idea which lead magnet this form is actually for. I'll just add a descriptive tag here, something like LM 5 questions PDF. Then that tag will be attached to each subscriber's contact record in Drip, those who filled in this form anyway. That's crucial because it's the addition of that tag that will trigger off the first email that delivers the link to this lead magnet to the subscriber. But let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. For some providers, it might not be tags. For example, if you're using MailChimp, you have to instead choose which group to add the subscriber to, but it's the same basic idea. And that's it. Save the changes to our pop-up template and we're done. Now anyone filling in this form will have their name and email address added to my email account, along with a tag of what it was they signed up for. Very important in future. And if they're already subscribed, of course, they'll just have the extra tag added. If you decided to just paste in your email provider's form embed code, then the integration is already done. Give yourself a pat on the back and take the rest of the day off. One benefit of this method is that it's free, apart from whatever you'll be paying your email marketing service each month anyway. If you're using a WordPress form plugin, they might integrate directly with your email provider too. It totally depends which form plugin you use. They all support different services. You'd have to check the documentation. But whichever you use, you usually need to pay for their pro version or at least a paid add-on for your particular email service. My advice: if you're using one of these form plugins anyway on your site, maybe as a contact form, and you're paying for it anyway, then you might as well use it. But if you're only using the free version of one of these and you don't have Elementor Pro, I think you'd be better off just pasting your email provider's form embed code into your pop-up instead. And finally, I mentioned last time there are of course plenty of paid, dedicated lead capture services too. Some of them are WordPress plugins, some not. If you're using one of those on your site instead of our homemade pop-up with Pop-up Maker, they usually have direct integrations with all the popular email services. Now, of course, these plugins or services all cost money and may or may not be overkill depending on your needs. So if your form has a direct integration, you're all set. Now, I'll cover Zapier next, but you might want to hang around anyway, even if your form is connected. Zapier is really useful for all sorts of things. I use it to automate all kinds of tasks in my business. It's definitely good to see what it can do. But if your work is done, feel free to skip to the final part of this video for a very important final last step. That starts at 11 minutes 9 seconds to be very precise. Right, so if your form solution has no direct integration built in, use Zapier. Zapier is a brilliant service that basically connects apps together so that they can talk to each other. So we're going to use Zapier here to connect our form service with our email service. Zapier has a free account, which might be all you need for this, but beware that your form provider might charge you for the ability to use Zapier in the first place. Just like they charge you for the direct integrations. I can't possibly show you how to connect every single form provider with every single email provider with Zapier because they'll all be slightly different and we'll still be here when hell freezes over. So I'll show you how to do it with Elementor Pro's form widget, but the basic process will be very similar if you have a different form. Just check with your own form provider's support. In Zapier, the first thing we do is make a zap. Think of a zap as an automated workflow. It's just a series of steps. We only have to set it up once, and then it runs all by itself from then on. There are two parts to this process. First, we create a trigger that will trigger the zap off. Now, that trigger is going to be someone submitting our form. And then we create the action that happens after the trigger. Now, the action here will be sending the form data to our email provider. First, we make a zap. On the left, you'll see all the workflow steps needed to complete the zap. We need to choose an app that the trigger will come from. There are tons of actual apps you can start your Zap workflow off with, but in the case of Elementor Pro, it isn't an app as such. We have to use webhooks instead, which are a fancy developer thing you don't need to understand. So search webhooks, and we'll choose that. Next, to choose our trigger. Now for the webhooks method, the trigger is catch hook. And press save and continue. There are no additional actions needed here, so we just continue. Zapier wants us to test this step, so we first copy the Zapier webhook to our clipboard, and then we need to head over to our Elementor form to pop this webhook code in there. Edit our form, and under Actions After Submit, add webhook. Open the webhook panel that appears and just paste in the hook we just copied in Zapier. I'll save this template and hop over to our landing page. For Zapier to test this works, we actually need to submit the form. And this has now, hopefully, sent the webhook data to Zapier. Let's see. Fingers crossed. So back over to Zapier, click OK, I did this because we just did this. And it says the hook was pulled in. Excellent. So that's the trigger setup. So click continue. Now it says our zap is lacking an action step. Yes, we know that. So let's add one now. Of course, we want it to send the data to our email provider, so we have to choose our email provider here. I'll choose something Elementor doesn't integrate with directly, MailerLite. MailerLite is a pretty decent and inexpensive email automation platform. It is worth checking out if you're on a budget. And in the search bar, type MailerLite. The action in MailerLite that we want is to create or update a subscriber. And click continue. Zapier needs to be able to talk to our MailerLite account, so we have to connect them up, but it's a once-only job. I'm going to skip over finding the API key in MailerLite. Just check your own email provider's docs on how to get your own API key. So I'll paste in our API key and continue to the next step. Now I'll just test this step out, run a test to MailerLite. Success! That's encouraging. Save and continue. Now to set up the template. The template is where we match MailerLite's own groups and fields with the data that will be sent over by our Elementor form. In MailerLite, I've already set up a subscriber group for this particular lead magnet. So here I'll choose that subscriber group and match the name and email fields up. All the rest of the fields in the template are optional and we don't need them anyway. So down to the bottom, hit continue. So the template for this particular Zap, for this lead magnet, is set to add the Elementor form subscribers to the 5 questions lead magnet group in MailerLite, and it'll send the email and first name over too. So you scroll down and send test to MailerLite. And hit finish. Now just give the Zap a name so we know what it is in future. I'll go with LM 5 questions PDF because that's the lead magnet this workflow relates to. And finally, turn the Zap on. Very important. And now this Zap will run automatically anytime anyone submits that particular lead magnet opt-in form on our website. Final, vitally important step. If you don't do this last bit, all of this 4-part series has been for nothing. Yep, we need to immediately send an automated email to the subscriber with the link to the lead magnet they asked for. We'll have some very irate subscribers otherwise. Now, you set this up in your email provider's account. There needs to be a trigger of some kind that fires off a pre-prepared email. For example, in Drip, for each of my own lead magnets or opt-ins, I create an automated workflow, and that is triggered off at the top by someone filling in the form I created for this particular lead magnet in here. Now, on my own site, I just use Drip's embed form code in my pop-ups with a few modifications. Elementor's form widget wasn't available at the time I built the site. But if I was using an Elementor form integration like you've seen in this video, the trigger to trigger off this workflow instead would be a tag, someone having the tag for this lead magnet added to their contact record. Now in my own workflow here, I tag them next for future segmenting because with my form trigger method, they don't have a tag yet, and then send this automated email. I haven't time to show you how to trigger off the automated email in every email service, but it's similar to Drip in all the other modern platforms like ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, and MailerLite that all have automated workflows like this. And of course, at this point, you'll also be sending out a sequence of more carefully planned emails to gradually take each subscriber further along your sales funnel from a lead to a customer. But we're now getting beyond the scope of this particular series, which after all is just building the opt-in landing page. However, I can send you an extra bonus video explaining how this one page all fits in together with a wider sales funnel campaign, as well as all the other really valuable bonuses too. Grab those from designbuildweb.co/Elementor landing page. Well, that's it. It's a wrap. It's been an absolute pleasure having you along with me for this series. Thanks for your company. If you enjoyed this series or found it helpful, or you're just feeling generous and fancy helping me out a bit, please go to the video series page and hit one or more of the share buttons. I'd really appreciate it. And don't forget to leave me a comment below. Tell me what you think of this series, and don't hesitate to ask any questions either. Till next time, I'll see you very soon.